Okay, welcome to the first ever video recorded episode of Love Dripping from the Walls. And we're actually making this episode in light of recent events. I wasn't going to start season 2 until April 25th. No, not April 25th. It was April 6, 27, 28th. April 28th was going to be the season 2 start date, but I think that given all of the events that are happening in the world right now, that we're in for some love dripping from the walls. And so you have me, your host, Elizabeth Cunningham. Hello, nice to see you in person. And then we have my lovely friend, colleague, mentor, coach, Enrico Pozzo. And Enrico and I met through a leadership training program several years ago, 4 years ago. We were actually just talking about that it's been 4 years that we've known each other. And Enrico is someone who just absolutely loves people, and he has been coaching inside of leadership and training and development for several years. And he has personally coached me at certain points and mentoring me currently right now. So thank you for that, Enrico. And it's just someone who his whole purpose on the planet is for people's dreams to be fulfilled, that people get to live the fullest version of their life and get to be fully self-expressed in whatever it is that fulfills their heart in this world. And he does it amazingly. So, Enrico, anything that you would like to say?
Well, the thing that I want to say is that you've been my coach. You may not have noticed that, but you've been my coach in terms of the joy that you radiate, and in terms of the aliveness that you carry, and that you just radiate to people around you. So truly been inspiring for me, and getting to know you has just been a joy and a pleasure. I treasure our friendship and our partnership also
Mm-hmm.
in elevating life for ourselves and for others to the fullest. We don't know whether we only have one trip in this
Yeah, we
life or
don't
not.
know.
And I think all of our jobs is to make everything out of it that we can. I think that's what this podcast is going to be about.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for saying that. And I'm super happy to have you on and to have our episode of Love Dripping from the Walls. And so we'll just get started. And so the reason that we wanted to have this podcast was to talk about everything that's going on right now with COVID-19, and what we can do in this time that's going to be uplifting, that's going to still have love dripping from the walls of your life, regardless of the circumstances of the world. How we can uplift and support one another, whether that be on an individual level, whether that be at a community level, city level, state level, national, international. We really are all in this together. And this is an opportunity for all of us to look at our lives and to see what it is that we're doing to create the life that we want, regardless of the circumstances on the planet. And Enrico, I know that you also wanted to mention all of the people are um, who are like the heroes of this current era, which are the
Yeah.
people on the ground. Do you want to acknowledge them?
I do. And what I'm thinking about is the doctors and the nurses, they're really at the front line of dealing with the disease, the people that already have it, and literally are putting their lives on the line for all of us, right? And actually including the politicians. Like, I know we've had a lot to complain about in the last couple of decades, but they're on the front line to kind of get us through this and make it work. And including, everybody from, leadership, as well as the drivers at Amazon, like, that are delivering us goods that we so highly need. So anybody that is making life work for us right now, and who are exposing themselves while they're out there, they're doing it. They're probably not on this podcast, you know, and I think probably the people on this podcast are people like you and me that are affected and impacted by it, that now have a lot more time on our hands. But there's a lot of people out there that are really on the front line, and I just want to send our love to them, our acknowledgement to them, and you know, not a very religious people, but really our prayers that they are going to be safe and get through this, you know, like just like all of us are. So
whatever that is that, you know, people who are listening or watching right now, you know, whether that be prayers or good intention or energy or thoughts or whatever that is that calls to you or makes the most sense to you, that we give all of our support inside of the people who are, you know, like you said, the doctors, nurses, politicians, people who are still truck drivers,
yeah.
the truck drivers that are hauling goods to grocery stores that are being cleaned out. You know, right now I've gotten seen a lot of posts on social media by truck drivers who are like, don't panic, you know, stores are being cleaned out because we don't usually have this much demand, and we're on the way. There's more stuff on the way. Don't worry. Don't be scared. There's still more, you know, food, produce, things that people need, right, on the way. So, and I think that,
actually, the one thing I would like to add to that, the best way we can support them, especially the doctors and the nurses, et cetera, is to make sure we don't get sick.
Yeah, so that is the first thing, number one thing that I wanted to say as well is, you know, talking about love, talking about, you know, starting with self-love, self-care, that the best way that we can help is to not get sick. Exactly. And that is staying inside, that is being quarantined, that is, you know, having that physical distancing. And I really, you know, something that Brandy posted the other day that I really loved was that instead of calling it social distancing, calling it physical distancing, because we absolutely need to be social and stay in community and stay connected to one another. It just looks a little bit different now. You know, I have friends who are reaching out to me. I have one friend who sent me a message yesterday, and she's like, I want to do a ladies date Zoom chat. And so we're having like a ladies date Zoom chat tomorrow with like a group of ladies. And, you know, I've gotten messages from people about doing like Zoom parties and things like that. And, you know, you can look at places in the world that are more quarantined than the US right now, like Spain and Italy, where people are singing songs, you know, off of their balconies. And like, just because I really don't think that I really agree with Brandy where it's not social distancing that we need, it's the physical distancing that we need to stay safe, but then being able to stay connected to one another, really.
I know, and you know, fortunately, we have technology like this available where we can see one another and be
Right.
connected and be close. Still, we can still be close, even
Yeah.
though physical distance to where we can't get each other sick, just in case we do have it. Because that one of the unusual things about this virus is that, you know, a lot of us may be asymptomatic. We don't even know that we have it, and we
Yeah.
can still be spreading it. And you know, the one thing I also just want to say. Also, that anything that we say today is really not intended to be, you know, we're not doctors or we're not psychologists, and you know, this is this information is not to be used as medical or psychological advice, and you know, for that we really recommend that you deal with professionals. This is just from human being to human being, you know, and sharing how we're coping with it, what we're doing to see, you know, how we can support others, how we can support ourselves, and really use this time right now fruitfully to maybe even turn our lives around, if appropriate, to work toward our fulfillment as human beings.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for saying that, because yes, Enrico and I, neither of us are doctors, neither of us are medical doctors or doctors in psychology or any sort of doctorship at all. So yes, if you need medical or psychological advice or help or anything of that nature, please do not use this podcast as a resource for that. This is just a conversation between two very loving and concerned citizens to put out the message that, to stay connected to one another and be compassionate for the circumstances. I know one of the things that I've seen, and I do want to get into, Enrico was sharing with me earlier about how what he's doing with his son, which I'm super excited for him to talk about because I think it's just brilliant and adorable. But oh, what was I saying? I got distracted. I got distracted by the thought of what you created with your son. Oh, being compassionate for one another. Being compassionate for one another. And I know that, during times like, or well, during this time, what I've seen is that people have a lot of opinions. People have a lot of opinions about how it should go, about how they want it to go, about how it is going, about, all of this stuff. And, everyone has opinions. You are entitled to your opinion. And my call, my plea is to be compassionate with one another, be compassionate to the experts that are coming on, the television, radio, however you get your news source every single day. Be compassionate to those people, because no one has ever dealt with this before. Politicians have never dealt with this before. Doctors have never dealt with this before. This is a completely new thing for the entire world. And the people who are trying to research, get information, make decisions are doing so as fast as they can. And of course, we're all people, we all make mistakes. No one is doing anything perfectly, but please have compassion for your fellow human beings who are doing their darndest to keep us all safe and healthy. And so that is my plea in this. And also to, I really wanted to, I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that.
I do want to say something about that, because
Yeah.
it's actually, we've dealt with pandemics before.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest one, and that's the one that really gave me a lot of insight into how things are probably going to turn out, because I think a lot of us are worried about how things are going to turn out. That's our main concern, the reason why we're keep reading the news, and or find out any information we can about it. And I think the closest thing that humanity has experienced like this is what they call the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu was a misnomer, because it first it first was reported on in Spain. There's no flu that has any kind of nationality, or but that's where it was discovered first.
Right.
And it was also called the pandemic of 1918, which was right after World War One. And I think that virus, it appears like it was a lot more lethal than the one that we're dealing with right now, because I heard that from, at that time, the population in the United States was around 100 million, and about 5 million people died of it. More people died from that pandemic than soldiers in World War One. And soldiers just came back from World War One, when that pandemic just started. So now at that time they didn't have the science and the knowledge. They had nothing to draw from, because nothing like it had ever happened before. And I think we can draw a lot from this.
Yeah. Well, and I think that one of the biggest biggest advantages that we have right now is how globally connected we are, how easy it is to share information, how easy it is to disseminate information so quickly. It's a good and bad thing. It's like good side of the hand, bad side of the hand, sort of thing. But because also misinformation can get shared very quickly as well. But as far as being prepared, as far as getting information out, as far as having relevant, up-to-date information in a timely manner, this is an amazing time that we're alive, that we are able to get that. Right, which is why we have been able to act so quickly, and why people have the information that they do, why people, well, at least in most places, people can still choose to self-quarantine or not. But why they have that choice is because we have the technology that we do have. Right, like we have in we just moved into a new apartment, and so we've been setting up our new apartment and also listening to COVID-19 news like for multiple hours a day. just just staying up to date with what's happening and what's happening around the world, and what government officials are saying, what doctors are saying, what the World Health Organization is saying, just trying to keep up to date with as much relevant information as possible. Because, Brandy is in a high risk category. She has asthma. She has severe asthma.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
so, that which kind of leads into the topic that I wanted to talk about, which is, you know, why we should be concerned with, even if you are a healthy person and you're not in a high risk category, why you should still self quarantine
Yeah.
is because you have no idea, you can have this disease and still be asymptomatic. And so you could spread this disease. There's a possibility that you could spread this disease to people who are high risk, even though you're okay.
Yeah.
Or you could spread it to someone who, because we're all connected, right? Like you could spread it to someone who is also low risk, but then they are living with someone who is high risk. It's just, we're all there. It's a web. We're all a web. And so I think that is even more important to stay privy to how connected we are, and keeping each other safe.
Yeah. It's really, really brilliant. So, and I'm really glad that you guys are taking the precautions to really hunker down and stay safe with each other. One thing that my wife and I just implemented, is now when we go to the grocery store, we wear rubber gloves.
Yeah, we did that too. Yeah.
So that they're disposable at the end, and you can walk away and wash your hands again. But wearing rubber gloves also really prevents you from touching your face, because you might much.
Yeah, you don't want to touch your face. Yeah, exactly.
When you do that, any kind of apples and everything we bring in, we wash them when we come home, and then we wait for a while before we consume, or maybe even peel the skin off of it completely. And I'm thinking about, we're dealing with like something that's invisible, right? So now this is the insane part. Like I think this is where, if you just think, like, this started with one person, right? And I think yesterday we hit the threshold where like over 1,000 people died. And through, you know who Samar Khan is, the one who behind Khan Academy?
Yeah.
The online learning center. He's absolutely brilliant. And I was watching a video about him, and he said that for every person that dies, there are probably 1,600 people that are infected, right? So that means that at the moment, if 1,000 people have died, that means that globally there's about 1.6 million people infected. Right? But it started with one person. Now, we don't realize it. I can only imagine how guilty that person must feel if they know about it, right?
If they know, yeah. I mean, how would they know that they were the first person,
The weight of that. But this is an invisible, nothing can, we can't do anything about it if we get it. I mean, we can reduce our exposure now that we have some knowledge about it, but definitely the first person had no knowledge about it. It was just open and exposed to it. However, this is the difference we can make each of us are around the world. Like we have an impact literally around the world. That person, like a single individual, has literally changed life for the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't realize that we actually have that kind of power. Now this is through like a transmittable disease, but we impact immediate people around us, that impact people around us, and that impact people around them, and then impact people around them. And it's infinite, like literally like each of us have an impact around the
Right.
world. And
Yeah.
this is kind of making that visible, you know? So I just noticed that kind of through the training and development, like I just noticed, I thought there was a time when I thought like I did make a difference. And I would kind of hang out on the couch, resigned, eating potato chips, watching Netflix, right? And I thought I wasn't making a difference. But you know what? My loved ones knew. And that impacted them. And that impacted the people around them. So I impacted, the same way. I had an impact around the world the same way that person has. We're just not responsible for our power, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We're not responsible for the impact. Now, if I do something that is productive, that lights somebody up, that makes somebody's day, guess what they're going to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
That's the power we each of us have, and that's what I'm so excited about. So that's actually starting to become more tangible and more visible.
Yeah. I mean, and that leads into another topic that we wanted to discuss, which is, how do we be responsible for the impact that we do have? And one of the ways is, as we've mentioned, and as, we've been told on, again, whatever source of media that you use to get your information, but, that we have an impact and to keep yourself healthy. But also we have an impact. And so how do we stay connected? How do we use this time productively? How do we, I'm going to be mostly in my apartment for the
Yeah,
foreseeable
yeah,
future. And so how do we use this time in a way that has us be productive, engaged, even in love, fulfilled? How do we do that? What do we do?
yeah.
Right. And so, and I love, 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 love what you shared with me about what you created with your son. Was that yesterday you did that?
Yeah, my son and my wife, right? So
Yeah.
both of the three of us as a team got together. So I'll share about that a little bit later.
Okay, you'll share later. Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
excited about that. I just thought that just tickled me.
Yeah. The one thing I just want to share, this is where I come from as a human being. This is where I come. I'm 58 years old, and the one thing that I've learned is that the life that we experience right now is just an absolute gift. I can't explain it. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it's going. But the life that I have right now is a gift that is given to me. And I think that's for everybody. We're given this beautiful gift, right? Equally. Now, the question is, what do we do with it, right? And one thing I've discovered also by having been irresponsible with that gift, like at one point in time, I didn't take care of my health. I didn't take care of my well-being. And I let my life go to the edge of diabetes. Like I was pre-diabetic, and even I think it was a misdiagnosis, but I had a diagnosis of diabetes. And I consulted several doctors, and my the physician that I have right now agreed with me that it wasn't diabetes, but at the same time, I was a person at risk and I need to be responsible. And why that's significant for me is my mother had diabetes, and she didn't respond to it as well as she could have. She didn't act on it as responsibly as she could have. And then it got worse. And then it turned into dementia. A lot of people that have diabetes, it becomes dementia for them. And I saw how that was going to go. So seeing that, I kind of knew how my life was going to turn out because I'd seen it already in my mother. Did I not become responsible about what I ate, how I exercised, etc.? So if life is a gift that is given to me, maybe it's up to me to honor. The best way I can honor that gift is by taking care of my health first. That's the way I can honor that gift that I was given. So, since then, I've really turned my life around. I exercise every day. I watch what I eat. And I've lost 26 pounds. And I feel completely different about myself. And I've really become in tune with what's important to me and what my life is about. Now, just growing up, I made every mistake in the book, probably like we all have, by all of a sudden serving false gods, so to say. And I don't mean to get people on a tangent on a religious notion, but serving thoughts that lead us on the wrong path is what I was trying to say. Let me take the religious connotation out of it.
Yeah.
Previously, so much of my actions were driven by, will people respect me? Will they see me? Will they notice me? Will they love me? Right? And I'm so clear now that for us to even be able to receive any love from another person, we have to love ourselves first. We have to love ourselves first. If we don't love that person that we wake up to in the mirror, there's no love we can receive, because we're going to be, we're just really going to prove the person that are trying to give their love to us. We're going to prove them wrong. We're going to prove that they're idiots for doing that, because we know better, right? Mm-hmm. Now, how do we learn to love ourselves? Is to become connected with and be really straight about what's really important to us and what makes us really proud of ourselves. And ask ourselves the question, is this action that I'm about to take really part of fulfillment of my life? And if it's not, stop. Stop wasting your time, really. Get connected to what's important to you first, and then act, and have an action be in service of what you're committed to, what you're passionate about, what you love, what enriches you, And then there's a whole different life inside of that. And then some people may love you for it, great. And some people may hate you for it, great. It's their right. But you know what? The only person that I listen to is the person I see in the mirror. I listen to, does this gel with me? And so that's given me just a level of fulfillment and a level of joy in my life that I didn't expect. But that comes from 40, close to 50 years of having lived in a life where really it was all about being liked, or all about being acknowledged, being seen. And I just thought, what? If somebody else loves me, that means I must be lovable.
Yeah, and I think to add to what you just said, because there is a concern that I have in saying things like, because I think loving yourself is absolutely the key to living a fulfilled life, and not having your own voice and loving yourself truly and deeply, to not have to be validated by any outside people, circumstances, whatever that is. I absolutely think that is the key to enlightenment, happiness, fulfillment, deep love dripping from the walls of your life. And I think that one of the places where it can go awry is in not being attuned to your own emotions, your own stories, the thoughts and feelings that you haven't distinguished for what they are. And what I mean by that is that, we have thoughts and feelings all the time. So how do you distinguish, what thoughts and feelings when you look in the mirror are true or not true about, really loving yourself? And I think that one of the things is that people let their ego speak for them, rather than hearing that true inner voice. And so it is a practice to distinguish between your ego speaking and your inner voice speaking, right?
Yeah.
And I think for you, what you were speaking to is something that you've already distinguished for yourself, which is you've already distinguished for yourself that where your past line of thinking was, will people like me? Is this going to further me in like in other people's view of me, right? And the reason why I want to make this distinction is because I think where the pitfall shows up for people is that you say things like, well, I want to do this, so therefore this is my truth, and so now I'm going to do it, and now I'm going to act on it. You can't tell me what to do, like that sort of like self-righteous,
Yeah.
like
That's
thought.
not what I mean. That's not what I mean. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that's why I know that that's not what you mean, but that's what I wanted to distinguish between what people may experience versus what you just created,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I think as probably a lot of people have discovered, like I have myself as well, it's like so often I was afraid to be myself because I was afraid about how it would be perceived by other people. And 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 then I would take actions, or I would be a certain way to really appease the thinking of another person. And the moment that we do that, we're so lost from who we are. We're so lost from being connected, what we're passionate about, what's important to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I just really think that we just have to really learn. It's learning to listen to yourself, learning
Yeah.
to, and also really claiming the right to be a beautifully, magnificently equal human being on the planet. We're all equal in that sense. There is no more human being or lesser human being or whatever. Like we're,
We're
again,
all
I'm
humans.
not religious, but like equal children of God. Why not, right? Or equal children of the universe, or whatever serves us, right? It doesn't matter whatever you believe in. But I think we're all equal inside of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this is an amazing topic, but it's a little bit of a tangent
Yeah. And
from
what
the, yes, from our original intention, which
well,
is
it's all related too. It's
it's
all related.
all related. It's absolutely all related. And I think the what I want to say, before that is going to kind of tie us back in, is to notice your impact. Like that's really what we've been talking about, and what there is to discuss is noticing how your actions, like you were saying, when you were sitting on the couch watching Netflix, eating bags of potato chips, there's nothing wrong with you doing that, but there
No.
is an impact in those actions. And the impact is how you being that way affects your family, how you being that way affects your health, how you being that way affects your own mental state about yourself and who you are for yourself. And so I really think like that really is the point of this particular conversation, is noticing your impact all the way down to what are the actions that you're taking all the time, every day, affecting yourself and your own mentality about yourself, your own emotions about yourself, your own health and well-being, but also how are the actions that you're taking every day affecting those people close to you, those people around you, that the actions that you're taking, even if it's just sitting on the couch, eating a bag of potato chips, that has a resounding effect in the world, because we all are connected.
And I think we've all experienced moments like that where we have like a reset. We need to reset something. We had an experience. It wasn't what we're committed to, and we kind of need to recover from it. And the question is, often like in the past, we didn't have great tools to work our way through it, or to work with it with expediency, right? And then what my motivation for hiding out was I didn't want to negatively affect other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought that was the best thing actually that I could do, is get away and maybe watch a movie that somehow inspired me to go back and live life to the fullest again. And I
Mm-hmm.
think now I have a network of people, and I talk about life and I study life and I share it with people, like, in a way to where, like, if I have a day where I'm down, Elizabeth, I'm going to call you until I have my aliveness fully back again, because I know I can rely on you,
Yeah.
And you're going to listen to
Good.
me. And these are some
Yes,
of the best.
I am very reliable for aliveness.
Yeah, and I'm for you, right? So
Yes,
that's what we are for each other, and this
yes,
part is to have this conversation. But let's go back to the current times, right?
yes.
Uh, and
So your impact. So what you were sharing was your impact, and then we kind of branched out from there. But so all of us right now have the opportunity to. I think this is an opportunity for a reset button. This is an opportunity for looking at your life more diligently. This is an opportunity to get creative, to do the things that you have either been saying that you want to do or been putting off, or what are those things, that
yeah, exactly.
now that we have this opportunity to slow down, because I never have this much downtime.
Yeah,
um
and one thing, actually, you want to go back to one thing that you said earlier about
mhm,
getting a lot of information about COVID-19. I
mhm,
think it is very important that we educate ourselves, and that the information that we look at is to educate ourselves. If it's information that just depresses the heck out of ourselves, or we've reached the threshold on how much we can tolerate, turn it off. Stay away from it, because
yeah,
just it affects actually our I think it affects our immune system. Not a doctor, but I think that actually affects
it
your
does.
immune system.
you're
That if
you're
you would catch it, you will not have the same capacity to resist this as you
Yeah,
would. So
absolutely. Your mentality, your health and well-being mentally and emotionally absolutely impacts your immune system. And you can look at studies. This is not just like my opinion. You can look at studies where it shows the correlation between your mental and emotional state and your physical well-being. But yeah, I absolutely agree and believe that. And and it is really important to take breaks from. You should educate yourself. You should keep up to date with all current information. Do your own research. And also, in doing your own research, please check your sources. Please check your sources. There's a ton of misinformation out there. For example, I was there is one place where I get some of my news information from, and the, like, they received a story from one of their or several of their listeners that were like, "Oh, BBC is now saying this." But upon further investigation, it was a fake BBC site. And so, one of the ways that you can tell that you're not getting good information, look at how many subscribers are on that site. If it says BBC, but there's only 162 subscribers, that's not BBC. BBC has way, 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 way more than 162 subscribers. Like,
so
notice,
like you're talking
notice
about like a
the
Facebook
ratio.
page of the BBC or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly like where, like what the false article, like where it was from necessarily. But the person who was reporting was like, please stop sending me this information. This is not BBC. BBC doesn't have only 162 subscribers. This is not an accurate, up to date, like, this is a false article.
Yeah, yeah,
So when you are getting information, do the homework. do the homework
Yeah.
that to keep yourself safe, you know?
And really, like, does the information that you're reading, does it help you make sense of the world? Does it make sense in terms of, how to take care of you and your family and your loved ones and the people maybe that that are at the front line, that you can maybe emotionally support, physically support, maybe even financially support? Like, we're going to have to reach out to each other and take care of each other during this challenging
Yeah.
time.
Well, and that was one of the things. So, I was teaching kids parkour classes, was one of the things that I was doing. And there was a mom of one of the classes who, um, was emailing me about, she's like the volunteer mom of the class. So she keeps in contact with all of the parents, parents and guardians of all the kiddos who are in that particular class. And she was messaging me, saying, just letting me know her concerns and that she was going to go to the doctor for her and her daughter, and all this stuff. And she was just being really polite about it. And I actually emailed her back, and I was like, thank you so much for keeping me informed, but really there's a time for social niceties, and there's also a time for being really straight and direct about what you need for your health. So if don't let being polite, or like the social niceties of a situation, get in the way
Mhm.
of saying what you need and what you feel is right for your health,
Yeah.
right? Like,
That's
I also backed out of a couple of social engagements, and I felt really weird about it because I never do that. I'm not the person, if I say that I'm going to go to a thing, I'll be there, right? And it was really weird for me to reach out to them and be like, I'm not going to go, and this was before the in Seattle, this was before, they were, like shutting down restaurants and things like that. This was before that. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to come, you know? And so it really is making those decisions, like for myself and my health and what I think is right for, and especially living with Brandy now, where it's just like setting those social niceties aside and being like, hey, this is what I need, you know, this is
And
this.
you mentioned that to me earlier, I think before the podcast started, is that Brandy has asthma, right? And
Mhm.
so that's something, right, which you need to be extra cautious for her health and well-being. So you're somebody that got to take care of yourselves first, right? And
Mhm.
yeah, I think being nice doesn't serve anybody in the end, right? It actually is risky, and it provides people with exposure if you are not straight about just whatever's real, whatever the facts are. Uh,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, worth mentioning.
yeah. Now, the thing that really, I think, started this call, gave us the idea to have this podcast, is that one way to deal with this pause in life, so to speak, is we can just wait until it's over, until this time is gone again, and we can go back to living our regular lives. But I think that would be missing a gigantic opportunity.
Mhm.
I think, for those people that do have more time, like you and me right now, at this moment, actually, like, how can we use this time to serve us and to serve our loved ones? And how can we reconnect? How can we further what it is that we're up to? How can we get more in touch with what we're really up to? Or are we, discovering that we're on a path that, if that's what our life's about, that doesn't really leave us, looking back on our life when we're on our deathbed, saying, okay, you know what? I'm fulfilled. I'm so glad I did all this.
Right.
My life has been full, and I'm time to go. It's my time to go. You know, so
Yeah.
that's really, I think, what feeds me so much is you know, does this really further what it is that I'm up to, and what we're up to? Because we're, you're a unit with Brandy, and I'm a unit with my family, with Yumiko, and with my son Tino.
Mhm.
So we live life together, and
Yeah.
in conversation too. So, and one of the things that we did, you mentioned it earlier, is that last night we had just a half an hour meeting I'm actually, calling you from my office where sometimes I'm meeting with my team. And my team, I'm a real estate broker, so we meet here in this office to kind of plan our week ahead. And
Mhm.
but got the family in here. This is in our house actually, so and I got the family here, and I'm going to take my camera here. I'm going to point toward the board, and then we took like a half an hour. We wrote down, okay, let's say if we're going to be hunkered down here for the next 3 months, what can
Mhm.
we do together, for ourselves in the next 3 months to where this is really fruitful for ourselves? What can we do with our time? And as you can tell, it was my son who wrote on the board because he doesn't know how to write straight on the
That's
on,
awesome.
on the board yet, And so, okay, there I am. And so one of some of the things that are on there are like, my son is really good at graffiti. For some reason, like he's able to do graffiti lettering. He's 10 years old, but he's very masterful at it. And what he does is beautiful. Now, my wife and I, by training, we were architects in our past, and uh, so we have, whatever we do, it's got to look nice. It's got to look cohesive, etc. So, but he's so
That's
good at
the reason why you
it.
mentioned him writing sideways.
One of the things we're going to do is we're going to let him pick a wall in his room, and he's going to do one giant graffiti wall. We're going to buy the paints and the brushes, and we're going to order them in. I don't know how we're going to do that yet. And he's going to do design first, and he's going to mock it up.
Mhm.
And so, in the meantime, what we're doing is like teaching him how to fulfill upon something that he wants to do. Like we're creating a planning phase and then an execution phase, and then we're going to outline it in pencil in the larger wall. So it's a training and development. Like that's one thing we can do together. He's just all lit up about it.
That's awesome.
So, and we have game night, and then we have Friday night movie night. Like
Yeah.
we're going to teach our dog some tricks while we're yeah. And we're going to make a couple of trips to parks, and we're going to, keep physical distancing with other people, but we're still going to enjoy, beautiful parks and nature. And so we're going to make some driving trips. And we're very lucky here in the Pacific Northwest to live in such gorgeous surroundings where it's easy to get away from others. Not because we don't love them, but right now there's more reasons to get away. We have some kayaks that we want to sell. They're you have to assemble them. It's an aluminum frame, and you stretch. And so I need to photograph them. So we've been thinking about selling them already for a couple of years, but they're just sitting there because we don't have
Right.
time for it. Now we're going to assemble them, photograph them, so that when better times come around, then we'll just get ready to sell them, so somebody else can use those usefully. We're going to clean the garage. So, we came up with endless ideas of things we can do. Now, tonight, we're going to meet again, and we're going to create a calendar on like a typical weekly calendar just during those 3 months or however long it's going to take. What are we going to do on Mondays, Tuesdays, so that all of that gets fulfilled, right? And we're going to
Mhm.
schedule a little downtime for each of us by ourselves, because you still need some time by yourself to really
Mhm.
take care of yourself or connect with the people that each of us are connected with. And so like really like using this time uh, to to really use it fruitfully. I've
Mhm.
been thinking about writing books for a long time. I'm actually writing a book right now. I now have some extra time to do that, and it just fulfills me to
Yeah.
really pay attention to it. So,
Yeah, and I think that that's amazing and brilliant. And I love that you all did that together as a unit and that you all just brainstormed together and thought of everything that you could do, want to do, and that you're actually putting it into action, that you're going to put it in a calendar. When I coach people, I always tell people to write things down, write it out, create a game out of it, to um, uh, put things in your calendar, have things be real, have things be tangible, and one of the things that I've been talking about with other people and with Brandy is, creating content, like I've been talking about making all these yoga, tutorial videos, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do that now. And, creating my website. It's like I had a call yesterday about creating my website and to put everything up and to have, Love Dripping from the Walls as my podcast, and also my coaching business, and my yoga, breathing, meditation, guided movement, all in one place, on my website, like all these things that I've been wanting to do, for my own business and to grow my own business. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to go full blast, full steam ahead,
Yeah, I was just thinking about parkour, like also like, I know you teach classes and you teach classes to young people about that. Why not do it via Zoom inside of people's household? How can the kids still get the movement? And then maybe you can create some kind of a donation, like maybe the parents are willing to give you a couple of dollars just for still putting on the class,
Right.
and the kids are entertained because they're hungry for doing stuff, so.
Yeah, it was super cute. This morning I got an email from one of the moms, and it's not even, her youngest is 3, and they sent me an email this morning with a picture of them doing parkour in the house. And I was like, oh, we miss you, and da da da, and here's a picture of parkour in the house. And I was like, it just like totally fulfilled me. I was just like, oh my gosh. I emailed them back right away, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this just made my day. I sent them a picture of me and Brandy went out and like took ourselves on a walk yesterday. And we live right by Gasworks Park. And so we like went down
Yeah.
to Gasworks, and as we were like walking home, we found this like really cool place to like practice jumps. And so I have this picture of me doing jumps yesterday. And so I sent her a picture of me doing a jump, and I was like, oh, I miss you guys. And so yeah, so it's just like it's that's where I think like the creativity, the innovation, the resourcefulness, humans are so creative. We don't, I mean, I think a lot of us give ourselves credit for being creative, but I think that in this time we can really tap into and realize our full like creative, innovative, resourceful potential. Not to say that like these next several months are going to be like hunky dory and like Pollyanna at all, there's definitely going to be some things that happen that, I mean, there's already been things that have happened that are scary. And but it's just like, okay, who are we going to be about it? Coming back to the first conversation that we were having at the beginning, who are we going to be about it?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to see great things. I think we're going to really see. I think we're going to see how creative human beings are, and how resilient they are, and how we can get through anything really. And I hope it's a wake up call. I really hope it's a wake up call. I mean, there's so, like not too long ago, just a couple of weeks ago, we were just bathing in affluence, and then and the world was so much about the affluent versus those who had not, were not, and how we have to protect our economy, and how we have to protect our, that this disease does not know any boundaries, right? It affects everybody around the world. I'm really worried about those people that are so vulnerable, that are right now in refugee camps, or that are homeless right now.
Homeless camps. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Homeless people who are
Yeah.
who are staying together in close proximity just to stay warm. Like how are we going to take care of them? And I think it's a reminder for all of us, the affluent and the not, to really, that we're all in this boat together. We no artificial lines in the sand, or any artificial lines in the sand, are really just getting in the way. They're getting in the way of us taking care of each other and really exploring what's really possible for all of us, right? So This is
Mm.
a human being problem. This is not a Chinese virus. This is a human being phenomenon, and we're all impacted by it equally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that is absolutely an important thing to keep in the forefront of our mind is that there is no there's no blame, there is no finger pointing, there is no, any of that. This is a human being issue.
Yeah.
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 And
So
yeah, and disease doesn't discriminate against, how much money you have or what ethnicity you are or nationality or, age, sex, gender, all the things. It doesn't discriminate against any of that.
and we have to. I think we've got to be more conscious and be more careful on how we use language. Like there's language that separates us, and there's language that unites us, right? Like even just the fact that you're a woman and I'm a man can separate us, can completely have us live in separate worlds, and we can't understand each other and can't really connect, right? Like it's a difference. Well, but
Men
at the
are from
level,
Mars, women are from Venus.
yeah, but at the level of being human,
Mhm.
we're just totally equal. Like you had nothing to do with being born as a woman. I had nothing to do with being born as a man. And I'm equally knowledgeable and equally ignorant about being a man as you are equally knowledgeable and ignorant about being a woman. So, but at the level of conversation, we can, and at the level of our humanity of being born in a certain circumstance, and
Mhm.
make a different. But we can understand what it's like to deal with circumstances, because that's one thing we have all in common. And all of our circumstances, whether we were born on one side of the planet or the other, or one gender or another, it's just different. That's all it is. It's just different.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that, I and along with many people that I know, especially since we both kind of live in this world of and when I say world, I guess I mean realm of, you know, personal and professional development, growth, training, leadership, coaching, living in that world, like one of the things that I say, and I hear other people say as well, is that, we are all in this together. And I think that now more than ever is that so relevant, tangible, clear, like undeniable that we really are all in this together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. That's it, and that we have a responsibility as individuals being all in this together to take care of one another in all the ways. We mentioned so many different ways already that we can just take care of one another, and that's in taking care of ourselves and taking care of the people around us and having compassion for our fellow human beings who are doctors, nurses, politicians, truck drivers, delivery people, etc. I know that I'm leaving people out who are still, working every single day to keep the world going, to have conversations with the people that we're living with to make your situation workable, right? Or even fun, or even creative, or
Yeah.
even,
Yeah.
like expanding like upon what you're doing. And also, the other thing that we've mentioned is staying connected, staying connected with one another in the ways that we can, in the ways that we're so fortunate to have this technology to do so.
The other thing is, like this is, the board is an interesting exercise to do when your basic needs are taken care of. But if your basic needs are not taken care of, like there may be some people at home that have been laid off and they have a financial urgency, etc. My the recommendation would be reach out to people. Reach out to people that can maybe coach you, can maybe support you, maybe can support you financially. Like just whatever you need to do to get your basic needs met first. Because otherwise that concern is just going to be, it's just really going to be present to you the entire time
Right.
that we're dealing with this. So take care of that first. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to reach for help. Like all of us on this planet, this is, we're here. It's so fulfilling to us to contribute to one another. And a few of us are a little bit luckier than the other. Don't steal somebody's opportunity to contribute to you and show their love for you. Really.
Yeah.
So I mean that for those people who feel they're alone, who are living in fear, reach out and allow other people to support you
Yeah.
until really, I'm gonna stand for that. I'm gonna stand for everybody thriving on this planet, right? It's possible. That's what you and I are about.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And, Brandy and I are definitely in the category of we lost a majority of our income,
Yeah.
with all this happening. And yeah, so I've been in the same boat, like reaching out to people, seeing what resources that I have. And I'm actually going to have that be a wrap up to our session here. And I am going to start. I'm just going to start doing Love Dripping from the Walls again. Screw April 28th. Love Dripping from the Walls is back. It's up. It's running. We're going to be coming to you from my house, from my Zoom computer. I talked to Sean, my sound guy, who Sean is also him and his wife have been hit and impacted, by this, and he is staying with his parents who are also high risk, and so which is why he's not here and why I didn't go get equipment from him or anything like that. So I'm just using my computer and my Zoom and the recording, and that was to his recommendation. So yay, Sean, for still
Thank you,
contributing.
Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, he's amazing. But yeah, if you would like to support Love Dripping from the Walls, Enrico is a supporter of Love Dripping from the Walls. Thank you so much, Enrico, for supporting Love Dripping from the Walls. But you can log on to anchor.fm and become a sponsor of Love Dripping from the Walls. I'm going to start bringing episodes to you every single week.
Can I say a couple of words to that, Elizabeth?
Yes, absolutely.
So the thing I want to say is like you really coaching other people and inspiring people to really live their life to the fullest and just be surrounded, be an expression of love is your purpose in life. So when you support Elizabeth in this, you're supporting her, you're furthering her career in this, because this is her career. This is the purpose why she's on this planet. So by making even if it's a small contribution every month, you're really planting seeds for a bright career and somebody who's going to make difference in the life of thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So that's why I just really encourage people to to just donate what you can and what's comfortable for you. I just so look forward to your programs. I listen to your programs, and I'm grateful for you just really being yourself and really being connected with who you are. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying that, Enrico. I absolutely appreciate you, and you are just someone who Enrico and I have always had a very special connection with one another. You meet those people in your life where you're like, there's something about you where we're definitely meant to know each other and to further each other and to help each other and to be connected in this way. And it's just I just so appreciate you for who you are, and for you and your purpose, and for you seeing your purpose be fulfilled in mentoring and coaching and having people live the lives that they love. And so thank you for doing that as well. And
joy and pleasure. And I want to thank all the listeners also for just taking the time to listen to us. And my thoughts go out to you, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're confronting right now. And our invitation for Elizabeth and I is that use this time to your advantage. Use this time to really get connected with what you're passionate about. Further your goals. If you thought about writing, go write. If you want to paint, go paint. Mm-hmm. Just occupy your brain also and keep it healthy. That just really flourish. This may be your the universe's way to get you reconnected to you flourishing as a human being.
That's right. That's right. And yes, thank you so much to listeners. Without you, this podcast does not exist. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for contributing. You can also contribute by sending comments, by liking or subscribing on whatever platform it is that you are using. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Also on Anchor FM, you can leave voice comments as well, so I can hear your wonderful voice, and I can respond back to you. And I can even give you a shout out on the podcast as well. So thank you so much. I just love and appreciate all of you. I also do one-on-one coaching. So again, as Enrico said, if you need someone in this time, I'm also a resource one-on-one as well. So please don't be shy. Don't whatever prejudgments or thoughts you have, just set those aside and please reach out. I'm here for love and support and contribution. So I love all of you so much. Enrico, I love you.
I love you
Thank
too.
you. And with that, keep listening and keep loving. This ends our episode of Love Dripping from the Walls.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Love Dripping from the Walls. If you like this podcast, let us know. Like, rate, review, send audio messages. You can even become a monthly sponsor. Log on to Anchor and click sponsor. Keep listening and keep loving.